We're just over a week away from the Chiefs playing a live football game, my friends. And if you're excited for the return of Chiefs football, let's prove it by setting our likes record for the month of July. The most likes we've had on a single video this month is just over 600. I want to get at least 700 likes on today's show. Smash that like button, and we'll get started with this edition of the Kansas City Chiefs Report. Tyler Jones, your fearless leader, back fresh off vacation here on this edition of the Kansas City Chiefs Report. And we got a lot to talk about. The latest from Chiefs training camp as the pads are on. And we got an alert that we will be talking about today of some position changes for a couple of notable players. And we'll get to the rest of our takeaways from everything that's gone on through the first few days of Chiefs training camp here on today's show. And what we saw this week, the pads go on, and that, of course, elevates things as the Chiefs taking things to a whole nother level, and competition is certainly heating up at a couple of different positions for the Kansas City Chiefs, and one of those is the right tackle position. And you may recall, to begin Chiefs training camp, Jawaan Taylor was a bit banged up, and we saw Jaylon Moore get the chance to slide over to the right tackle spot. Initially, it was expected that Jaylon Moore would be competing with Josh Simmons for the left tackle position, but Simmons, the first-round rookie, seems to be well in line to get that job. So now Jaylon Moore competing for that right tackle position with Jawaan Taylor. And even though Jawaan Taylor is back through the first 2 days of padded practices, including today, they are splitting first-team reps as they are putting the pressure on Jawaan Taylor. Pete Sweeney of Arrowhead Pride putting this tweet out. Andy Reid is rotating Jawaan Taylor and Jaylon Moore with the top team at right tackle. It appears the battle has shifted to the right side. So what does all this mean for Jawaan Taylor? Andy Reid giving us this update saying, yeah, we're getting him back in the swing. He hadn't done anything, but they're all three kind of competing in there. So pretty vague comments from Andy Reid. And the first question then becomes, does this mean Flagapalooza is officially over? Are the Chiefs turning the page and moving on from Jawaan Taylor potentially and going with Jaylon Moore at the right tackle position? And there's a number of directions this could go for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's just say that they decide that they want to move Jawaan Taylor if he's not on the roster at the start of the season. Well, they're not going to do so by cutting him. They save saddle for our Spanish friends. $0 this year if Jawaan Taylor is cut. They can save $20 million if they can find a trade partner and potentially get something out of him. Or there's door number 3. If Jawaan Taylor is not going to start, he could be the backup swing tackle, but he would be a very expensive swing tackle if you were going to do that as far as that goes. But, it's good to see that Jawaan Taylor is being pressured like this. I think that we've looked at this Jawaan Taylor situation since he's been here, and it's been a major disappointment. He's been paid a lot of money. I think Kansas City certainly regrets that contract, especially with all those penalties that he's been called for. We know that Jawaan Taylor is not going to be back in 2026, so why would you not give Jaylon Moore a shot, especially if he can clean up on the penalties compared to Jawaan Taylor? That could be a big positive. So let's ask you, if you had to pick one to start, which one would you rather roll with at the right tackle spot, Jaylon Moore or Jawaan Taylor? Type JM for Jaylon Moore. Type JT for Jawaan Taylor. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in and let us know which one you would choose to start. Another big change, part of our alert here, is Trent McDuffie. And it would appear that he is officially moving back to the slot position where he began his career and excelled and played his best football. As Pete Sweeney puts out this tweet, Chiefs running cornerbacks Jalen Watson and Najee Johnson outside, Trent McDuffie inside to start. And with that, Christian Fulton, he's a bit banged up right now. And even with Fulton out, they're still going with McDuffie in the inside with the padded practices beginning. This update from AZ Sports. Chamari Connor has taken most of the reps at slot corner up to this point, but he had numerous struggles. McDuffie took over the role today, which could be an indicator moving forward. It's even more notable that the Chiefs aren't waiting for Christian Fulton to return before sliding McDuffie into the slot. It could also signal Fulton's return is close as he continues to work the side. This is how it should be. I think that Trent McDuffie is at his absolute best when he's playing the nickelback spot. That is his most natural position. That's where we saw his best football. He was good on the outside last year, but I think we all know that he's better at the nickelback position. And with Fulton there, with Jaylon Watson there, you can cover the outside and get the most out of McDuffie. It makes the most sense for him to be playing the nickelback spot. So this is music to my ears that they are making this change, and I think it's a welcome change for the Kansas City Chiefs defense to maximize what they can out of Trent McDuffie. More to come here on the Kansas City Chiefs Report in a moment, but first, want to make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel as we are ramping up our training camp coverage here on the channel with our daily news and rumors. Our live shows are back beginning tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock Central Time. We're going to continue to bring you breaking news, Q&A mailbags, and more. This is your one-stop shop for all things Kansas City Chiefs. Let's get at least 20 subs off today's video. Why not? YouTube.com/ChiefsTV. Subscribe now for free. Turn on your notifications. That way you can stay up to date with everything happening on your favorite team. We got you covered. All right. In training camp every year, there's always a pleasant surprise of sorts. Somebody that comes out of the woodwork and makes a case to be on that 53-man roster. And it would appear right now that the guy that is catching everyone's attention is veteran tight end Robert Tonyan. And Robert Tonyan is a guy that had some success in Green Bay. He had kind of fallen off the last couple of seasons. And now he's impressed throughout the first few days with the pads on. Matt Miller of Chiefs.com posting this. A standout from Sunday's practice was veteran tight end Robert Tonyan, who hauled in a one-handed reception over his shoulder deep down the field during a 7-on-7 period. It was likely the play of the day and represented another strong practice for Tanyion, who appears to be off to a great start in St. Joseph. Andy Reid, Chiefs head coach, had this to say on Robert Tonyan. He's doing a nice job. He's a veteran, and he's been consistent. He's a good receiving tight end. This is a pleasant surprise for the Kansas City Chiefs because you look at the tight end position, I think there is some uncertainty, right? What version are you going to get out of Travis Kelce? Noah Gray had a breakout season last year. Can he take another step forward, or is who he is at this point? Jared Wiley coming off that ACL injury. We don't really know what to expect from him. So Robert Tonyan comes in, and now you're talking about some real depth at this spot with having those options. And then Jake Brenningstool, the UDFA out of Clemson, had a good offseason program as well. So for as much conversation as there was this offseason that the Kansas City Chiefs should be looking at Travis Kelce replacements and trying to invest in the tight end position, I think they're actually in a pretty decent position with the options that they have to their disposal with a real competition for those spots on the roster. With Tanyion performing the way he is, with Brenningstool as well, I think they're in a much better position than what's being advertised at that tight end spot, and some real good competition going on. Prediction time. Will Robert Tonyan make the 53-man roster for the Kansas City Chiefs? What do you guys think? Type Y for yes, in for no. Weigh in the comment section and tell me if you think he'll make it or not. There appears to be a real competition going on at the punter position. You have the punt god, Matt Araiza, and then you got the rookie Eddie Czaplicki out of USC, who was signed as a UDFA. And this was interesting this offseason when they brought Eddie in because Matt Araiza's got one of the strongest legs in the entire NFL. But what we saw from Matt Araiza last year, there was too many touchbacks. He didn't necessarily do a great job of getting it inside the 20 when they needed to, of downing those punts. And so they felt the need to bring in a little competition. And they very well could have moved on from Eddie, after rookie minicamp or OTAs. But here we are. We're in the midst of training camp now. And this is a real competition for that spot. And Dave Tobe, the Chiefs special teams coordinator, had this to say. It's a good competition. I think we have 2 NFL punters. Matt probably has the edge over these first few days, but I expect, just because it was all new for him, for Eddie to be better next week. It's a real competition. We're going to take it into the preseason games and see who prevails. I think this is a real battle now. It's pretty clear and obvious that nothing is being handed to either one of these guys, that they are putting the pressure on Matt Araiza, trying to send a message of sorts, because if they go to Eddie and he wins the job, they can save a little extra cash potentially to spend. So then the question becomes, all right, can Matt Araiza do enough over the next few weeks to justify the more money that he costs compared to Eddie? I still expect Araiza to prevail. I think that with his leg strength that he brings, he's one of a kind, but they are trying to send a message here that, hey, we don't necessarily need you, that we have other options here, that you need to put it together here. And I think that message will be heard loud and clear, and that he'll ultimately prevail and win this job. Pick a punter. Who is going to win the job? Will it be Matt or Eddie? Type MA for Matt Araiza. Type EC for Eddie C. Weigh in the comments section. Let us know which one you think is going to win the job. We have an insane deal for Chiefs fans, as we have these hoodies that are on sale. At one point, they were $55. Now, my friends, they are only $33, and you can get yours today at chatsports.com/Chiefs-sale is where you can find these fantastic cutoff hoodies. They look great, and I know it's a little warm outside, but don't worry, they are a short sleeve. And if it is still a bit too warm for you, you'll thank yourself later by getting these now and wearing these throughout the season. Just $33. We also have other Chiefs merchandise at that same link as well. Go to chatsports.com/Chiefs-sale. All sorts of different shapes and sizes. Go check yours out now. Link is in the comments and description of today's video. That's chatsports.com/Chiefs-sale. All right, last on the list of training camp takeaways, let's talk about the left guard spot. And going into 2025, much was made about this competition. Mike Caliendo started the majority of the second half of the season as he slid into that spot when they moved Joe Thuney over to the left tackle position. He did a pretty decent job up until the Super Bowl. Then they made the change of moving Kingsley over to the guard spot, which made more sense after his struggles at the left tackle position last year for a former second-round pick. And then there was also talk about Jaylon Moore, who it seems to be their focus is on the right tackle position after initially signing him to compete for the left tackle spot. But with his experience at guard, there was discussion that maybe if he didn't win the left tackle spot, he could play the left guard position. Well, now, fast forward to today, July 28th, and all signs point to that this is Kingsley's job to lose, that he has solidified himself at the position. More from AZ Sports saying this. The next surprise is Mike Caliendo, who's been playing some center with the second-team offense behind Creed Humphrey, of course. He was expected to battle with Kingsley for the starting left guard job, but Kingsley has gotten all the first-team reps. Caliendo's ability to play center will help him stay on the roster as a backup. I know he looked the part at left tackle during training camp last year, and that didn't work out. I think Chiefs fans will be pleasantly surprised with Kingsley at left guard in year 2. I am hopeful when it comes to Kingsley that he is going to be much improved from what he was in 2024. And, you know, I understand everybody being cautious because at this time last year at the left tackle spot when Kingsley was there, he looked really good. And he had won over Andy Reid. He was all Andy wanted to talk about was how impressed he was with the rookie at the left tackle spot. And then we saw it in live game action, and things didn't go so well. But with that said, I think the guard position should be a better fit for Kingsley. All right? He's a talented football player. We know that he has the potential. But the struggles for him at the left tackle position mostly had to do with not having the arm length, with having short arms. And that should bode well better for him playing the left guard spot where he doesn't depend on that as much. And I think that at the end of the day, the Chiefs are going to make the right decision. That if Kingsley wins this job, then to me, I think they're in a pretty good spot because that means that he's done a really good job considering there are other options here. You could go with Mike. You could go with Jaylon. But if Kingsley's doing his part, then I think things are going pretty well for him, and we should see an improved version of him in 2025. And the Chiefs' offensive line, I think, is going to be pretty solid, comparatively speaking, to what it's been in the past. If you enjoyed today's show, want to help us set that like record, hit that like button. We certainly would appreciate it. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time here on the Kansas City Chiefs Report.